And everything was no, no, no. Everything was an effort. And I mean, you can't live your life like this. If you live your life like this, and I know many people too, because it's a state of mind, and I've been there. Yeah, that's the moment when I realized, like, I'm just living for living. Like, you know, it's just I'm breathing for breathing. Like, I'm here, but I'm not here. So I was like, no. Of course, the purpose to reach these goals are going to be different. And the objectives, like we started off B2C. So the idea, the purpose was to connect every single individual everywhere at all times. Now we are switching to B2B. So now we want to connect every single business everywhere at all times. But still the vision is we want to be the connector. We got cyber attacked. That was at really, really beginning of the business. Wow. That was really funny. Who is really attacking the startup? It was literally one of our first week of operations. Like, who would attack us? Yeah. Which made us learn a lot and improve on our security and really, really invest in that. And nowadays that would never happen. But the first thing we did was laugh. We fixed it. At least let's laugh about it. Eliminate stress. This is the most important thing. Like high cortisol levels is the biggest issue that you are having right now. So it's not that it's not the food that you bring into your body, it's the stress.
Welcome back, listeners, to Lost and Searching, the show that aims to help you discover your greatest inner leader by exploring different dimensions of that leadership equation. Today, I'm chatting to Irina, the co-founder and CEO of Zim Connections, a fantastic leader in my network who I've seen grow over the years, to ultimately discuss if you can really lead something bigger than yourself in your 20s. And spoiler alert, yeah, you can, but how? And that's what we really get into today. As we talk about intuition, gut feeling, culture, and building a culture around you, family, and managing challenging relationships, and ultimately rising above not only others' expectations of you, but your own, and exactly what impact, what sacrifices that might take, the inner reflections that came about exploring and reflecting on that journey, and so much more. So with that being said, let's get into this episode. How are you feeling? How are you?
Good. I'm good. Everything is much better than it was 6 months ago.
What happened 6 months ago? What was going on 6 months ago?
Lots of overwhelming things, a lot of change in the business, a lot of change. I think personally as well, I think I wasn't feeling happy of how I was dealing with my own mindset. I was seeing everything very dark.
Okay.
Like everything was bad. I didn't like any, like I was waking up in the morning and I didn't want it to actually go to work.
Why?
I think I wasn't in the right mindset. I think I was feeling stuck. I was feeling my role changed too much. The company was getting bigger. We were getting more clients. So I felt like my role changed from creativity to everyday things and just looking at financials and cash flows, dealing with investors. And it felt like my purpose was so different than when we started. So I think I wasn't expecting that.
Okay.
And nobody told me that would happen. And I was also feeling kind of overwhelmed with like, why am I feeling like this when I am so lucky to be building my own business? And all this journey with Zim has been so amazing. Of course, this is what we portray to the world. It had horrible moments as well. But I was still feeling very down. So I think I needed a bit of time to also reflect on myself and going back to the gym, going, for example, to swim, which makes me more relaxed, focusing a bit more on myself as a person instead of just focusing on myself as them.
Okay, that's really interesting. So your identity became wrapped up in the company, and the company wasn't the vision you were working towards. It was the day-to-day minutia.
Exactly.
So your identity was the day-to-day minutia, which you didn't want to be doing. So you said you made some changes. I mean, what were those changes? I know you made some personal changes to kind of It sounds like you
Yeah.
just make your life a little healthier and
Exactly.
things like that. But did your mindset also shift? And if so, what did you do to that? Did the company shift? If so, what did you do to make that happen?
I think I embraced a bit the fact that I was building a business that was going to grow, and that the people around me were going to grow, and they're going to start taking care of other things than they were before. So my team was going to grow, their responsibilities was going to grow, our relationship with the team was going to change at some point. So passing from a startup phase where everybody knows each other and everybody's like close to each other, and you talk about, and it feels like, oh, I hate these words to say family, but it does. It feels a bit like literally a cult. Like you all talk about the same things. Your vision is the same. You want the same things. And then once the team gets a bit larger and you get new people in, you have to adapt to those people, and your responsibilities change. And I think accepting and embracing that. Also, the fact that I started Zim when I was 21.
That was going to be my first question, is what was it like to start this straight out of university?
I didn't have an identity. I wasn't a person, like...
I love that.
I
didn't exist.
It's just I didn't have I didn't have a working personality.
Sure.
I was not a kid, but I just went out of university. I had no working, I did work for a company, but I was in a placement. So I was basically an intern. So that doesn't count. I didn't know how Irina was when she was working. So coming from that to actually building your own business straight, it feels like your identity gets kind of hidden behind the company. So who was I at the end of the day? Was I them? Was I the person that... Because my life changed literally drastically when I was at university, going out, seeing my friends every day, to basically spending my day in an office with my computer 24/7, talking about the same subject with the same people every single day. So who was I at the end of the day? Was I the party people, the person that was at university, that was going out and didn't care about anything? I was like, woo, let's live life. Or am I this person that is super determined, like super motivated, but kind of like doesn't know her own personality? So I don't even know if I know because I feel like I was a bit of a chameleon. I changed my personality depending on where I was. So at the office, I'm one person. At home, I'm another. With my parents, I'm another. So at the end of the day, who am I really? What do I actually like? So I had to figure all these things while I was building the business.
Yeah, you are trying to repair the ship while you're sailing it.
Exactly.
And hoping you find enough materials along the way to actually do the repairs.
Exactly. So also building a business when you're so young in such a closed off market as telecom, which is very, very male dominated as well.
Probably really boring too. It sounds really boring from outside.
Honestly, it's not the most sexy industry.
No, it is not. It's not a sexy industry.
Building a business there, was being so young. Also, the comments that you hear from your surroundings and from people that come that are from the industry and have been in the industry for ages. At the end of the day, some of them are like, "Oh, this is amazing that you're building a business in this space," and some of them are like, "Why are you building a business in this space? You don't have a fit in here. Like you don't have experience, you don't have the background." So all these things that come to you as like so many different types of slaps. So you're just like, I don't even know what I'm doing or who am I?
What was the subliminal messaging that you were getting, and where was it coming from?
So honestly, it came from really close sources.
Oh, really?
You have to think about, because when you go into an industry such as AI or fintech, that it's a bit more young, it's a bit more dynamic, you are going to expect to see people that resemble you and your age, your gender, within those communities. We didn't. So we go to these really big telco events, and it's literally the opposite of what we are and who we are.
A sea of old men, basically.
Exactly. So you have a lot of those, which at the same time, I like to surround myself with smarter people that are in the industry and know what they're talking about. And we are really good at that. We surround ourselves with really amazing advisors, really amazing investors. But at the end of the day, they don't really know what you are feeling as a person, and you don't really know what they are feeling. So the messaging that we got is that we were very young and it was going to be very challenging. At the same time, the message that we got, and we're still getting, is that the industry needs a change, but they are very closed off to change. So it's like basically swimming against 10-meter waves that keep crushing you. But at the same time, you get a bit motivated by some currents. So it's a very strange feeling, but this is basically how we shaped a bit. I'm going to talk for myself, not for my co-founder. But this is how it shaped also my personality and my person today. I don't know if I would be the same person if I wouldn't have built SIM. But at the same time, do I really know who I am? I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
What is your answer so far? Like, are you still searching for the answer?
I think as humans, you always look for that answer. Like, what do I actually like? Am I being motivated by my work or my friends or for my life choices? I think it's a question that everybody should ask themselves. But in our case, it's like we were changing a lot. This phase from when you pass from university to work, it's a very life-changing moment because you pass from one routine to another. So I think that is applicable for every single person on this planet. But for us, it was a bit more like, what the hell is going on? Because we just passed on to managing our own team, managing our own time. Managing your own time, this is one of the hardest thing ever because you could be doing absolutely nothing. Before we got the first tranche of investment, there was nobody that were telling us like what to do. So you actually need to work and manage your own time. And we were 21. So we definitely had better options.
You went from 0 to 100 very fast. And you could have gone for things that were easier. You know what I think's interesting, though, is almost reverse engineering the question of who are you, right? So you're doing all these things and I don't have time to figure out who I am.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of know to some extent who you are because of what you did.
Yeah.
So who were you? You were someone who wanted to build a thing, manage your own time, and create something much bigger than yourself, even if it didn't always feel like that's what you wanted.
Yeah.
By way or by the fact of you doing it, that is what you were.
Yeah.
Because I think there are a few levels to the question of who you are.
Yeah.
And who you are, one of those levels is just what other people think you are.
Exactly.
The deeper level then becomes what we do, because that's the bank of evidence, right?
Yeah.
Here's the evidence that I am who I am. No one knows behind the scenes if you're putting in 12 hours of work or not, if you've put the things into your own calendar, because no one else can dictate your time for you. That's the bank of evidence that you are who you are. So whatever your actions are, that is who you are.
Yeah.
And I think there's a third level, which gets into almost the spiritual level of we just are.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But for the sake of this, it's like you are all the things that you did when no one told you had to, and no one was rewarding you for it either.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really, really good way to put it. I never thought about this, about it that way. But yeah, you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, we decided to do what we are doing now, and what if we wouldn't have done it? I don't know. But I'm happy with it, and I'm happy with the outcome. And honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. And we had some moments where, honestly, we were like, it's done. Like I cannot handle this anymore. But I guess all entrepreneurs have the same feeling from time to time.
Maybe from time to time. What were some of them? Give us some of your biggest challenge stories or horror stories, or, what went wrong.
I think we had a bit of everything.
Okay.
I think we had horror stories investor-wise. We had horror stories team-wise. What we never had, and actually this is something that I'm touching wood on, and honestly we work really hard to not have this issue, is co-founder relationship issues.
Okay.
So that, for me, and I've heard horror stories from that sense as well. That is the only thing that has been very constant throughout the years. It's
Okay.
our co-founder relationship and how we take care of it. Horror stories, investor stories. We got scammed by investors. So we had a couple of investors that scammed us. Actually, they were portrayed as an investor from Switzerland. They wanted to meet us in Paris, and I was actually going to Paris that week, so it was perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And thank God I actually talked to one of our current investors that is in the cap table. Hey, would you be able to call this number? Because their WhatsApp picture, it's a lake in Switzerland. So I was like, this looks very weird. And we were literally about to go and meet them. And apparently these scams happen a lot. And it was 100% of a scam. They were basically asking us, they were saying, okay, we want to invest 1 million, but you need to put 10K in this account to activate the account.
Yeah, that's immediately sending scam. That's not how it works and all these things. But I guess if someone doesn't know that, right,
Yeah.
it's just enough people must fall for it. That is like the quintessential Nigerian king scam email story, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Exactly. We also had
Wow.
someone that is looked by really important legal bodies around the world because they own a lot of money to governments, came to us saying, hey, I want to be an investor. And that was a huge red flag. And I don't even know what the end goal was, but we caught it in time.
Was this a company?
No, this was an individual.
Okay, so this is an individual you obviously can't talk about on camera. Interesting, because I've heard some of these stories before, and if you are trying to liquidate assets, you can give it to a startup. You now have the equity. In a way, it's glorified money laundering.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
it's really
we were
complicated, glorified money laundering.
It's what we were thinking about. So that honestly was one of the few moments where my co-founder called me and we were both like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like, which type of world are we living in? Like, I don't get, like, I do not have time for this.
I love that.
But it was one of the few moments where we both sat down, we started laughing, and we're like, this is ridiculous. And we were like, because we always have a saying with Jules, is like, we have to put it in the book. So,
okay, what does this mean? What book is this?
What the book of horror stories from or funny things, like it goes into the book, and we're like,
are you actually writing this book?
No.
Oh,
and
come on.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Why
but
not?
Honestly, we should start noting down how we felt in this type of moments and all these moments, because we get reminded from time to time about these type of moments, but it's not something that lives in our minds all the time. We also had a big issue with the team. Somebody in the team that came in didn't do anything, and he was a person that was really important for the company, as they were in a very high position, and we needed this person as we were raising investment. We needed the product to be live, so this person was essential, and it just didn't work out. And the backstory of this person, it's absolutely crazy how we basically got tricked into hiring them, because people have sales skills. This is what, as a founder, you also need to realize, is that people have a lot of sales skills to sell themselves and get into a startup and work for a startup without actually doing anything. So this person didn't do anything, lots of excuses, a lot of disappointment, a lot of deadlines not met. So at some point, this person was asked to leave the company, and bomb. That was an absolute bomb. And it was just at the beginning of the company. So we were very, very young. We didn't know how to deal with this type of things. And also emotionally, it affected us psychologically very, very much. I remember I wasn't sleeping. I was really worried. This person managed to sue us. And you're like, what are you suing me for? I'm a startup. I have no money. What do you want from me?
And at this point, how old are you? If you started at 21, 22?
I was 22.
You were still 22. This is very early. This is the thing, is like you've gone from university 1 year to being sued the next year. And the world does not prepare you for that.
No. It doesn't. It doesn't. But nobody actually prepares you for someone to tell you that I'm going to sue you. You're the most horrible person on this planet. To accuse you of discrimination, which, I mean, come on. We are two female founded, like it's a 100% female founded startup. Discrimination is definitely not in even our dictionary. So, come on. Like that was really hard. Psychologically, it was really hard on both of us. So that story, and that honestly gave us some PTSD feeling.
Really?
Yes, that affected us into our hiring process after.
So that was going to be my next question: is what did you do differently as a result, right? Because these experiences, what they do is they give you years worth of learning in an instant.
Yeah.
And suddenly the brain is like, goes through all kinds of growth really fast. I think part of the reason it's overwhelming is because the brain is trying to figure out what to do next.
Yeah.
But it's trying to figure out a year's worth of learning or more or whatever in the space of minutes. And so it's like you're forced into fast growth.
Yeah.
As a result now, I bet you do things differently. So I'm not surprised to hear that. What do you do differently? And what are the red flags you're now looking for earlier?
So, honestly, to be fair with you, we still go a lot with our gut feeling. We didn't listen to our gut feeling then.
Oh, interesting.
We didn't. We listened to what the paper said.
What was your gut feeling?
Our gut feeling was that something was not right.
Really?
But not from the beginning. Okay. So I'm not going to say we'll have the best gut feeling in the world, because we don't. But at the beginning, everything seemed really okay. But then there were some red flags along the way, and we just didn't feel it right. And we said, okay, everybody around us says it's good. On paper, this person looks very good. Let's continue. Let's see what happens. And then the gut feeling became bigger and bigger and bigger. And we were like, okay, let's not listen to it. Let's keep going. Let's go. Maybe it's because we have no experience, so we don't know exactly how these things go. Maybe it takes a bit of time. No, it doesn't take time. Like when a person is right for the team, you know. So right now we just hired someone into the team, into a very high position as well. So we have a new CTO. That hire, I literally, we were recruiting, and you know how hard it is to get a CTO. Nowadays, it feels like they like rare jewels. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of contacts from our network, and we interviewed about 5 to 6 people. Mm-hmm. After this call, I literally hung up the phone. I called Julia, and I told her, we got it. We have the one.
Okay.
And this person showed.
Okay.
So this person is now with us today, and they are absolutely amazing. Okay. So I feel like if you know, you know, and if you're not sure, don't. I think that's what we are feeling now. It's like, if you're unsure about somebody joining the team makes such a big impact on the whole company, because we're so little. So a new person means new culture, new personality. You need to adapt the way you talk to them. The whole team needs to adapt their working level to this person. And also, the team has been with us for 3 years, right? So when somebody new comes in, it means you are taking a bit of the role of somebody and giving it to somebody else.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
So, because for now, it has been just us taking care of everything, the OG team. And now when somebody new comes in, they're going to take some of the stuff that other people were doing. So that becomes a bit personal. So you need
the ego starts to play around.
Exactly. So you need to manage that. So the importance of somebody new coming in, it's huge. So I think hiring just for hiring, it's just a bad move. So there are red flags that we are looking for. We're not going to get it right always, and I'm sure of that, and we haven't. But we're learning, and we are also starting to realize little by little that the team is the most important thing. So we knew that from the beginning, but at some stages we were like, the product is very important. So we're putting priorities on other stuff. Now the priority is the team. The team needs to work at their full potential, because we have really, really talented individuals. But talented individuals can also not perform.
You mentioned at the beginning that you're a little bit like a family, and it feels a bit like a cult. Someone on the show outlined something really cool to me. So one of the things I find most fascinating personally is language.
Yeah.
I only speak English, so I have no idea what this is like in other languages. But in English, so many words have meanings that we forget that they have. And the words themselves tell us. And the reason it's important is because the brain is unconsciously picking up some kind of meaning from what we communicate, from communication, what we say, how we say it. One of these words is culture.
Yeah.
Culture. Cult.
Yeah.
In culture.
Yeah.
And so every organization does have a culture, just like every company has a culture.
Yeah.
Just like every country has a culture.
Yeah.
So we have many cults in our lives, quote unquote, or versions of them. And your little cult, your little family, that's your organizational culture, feels that way. How big is your team now, and how are you seeing that culture shift as it grows?
So we are 9.
Mm-hmm.
Culture shifts. So I think when you're so small as we are right now, you basically are a mixture of all the personalities that are in the team. So that's the culture.
Okay, got you. So everyone has contributed.
Exactly. Everybody started contributing to this culture. And when somebody new comes in, that person brings a bit of their culture inside. So I think we have a bit of a pattern, at least in our team. So during lunchtime, we don't talk about work. We only talk about the things that interest us. Food, hobbies, whatever. We talk a lot about food. A bit.
I've noticed this, and I have been a part of teams like that too. And it's a very easy thing to bond over. Yeah,
it's such an easy thing to bond over, and everybody loves food, and everybody brings food. So everybody tastes food for everybody. So that the biggest problem is that if somebody gets COVID in our team, everybody's gonna get COVID or something.
Awkward.
So everybody
a little bit
shares,
too close. Yeah,
everybody too close. So it feels like we know each other very well. Like we know about each other's personal lives. We ask about it. So it's literally the culture right now. It's just a bit of a mixture between all of us. So this is what I find beautiful. Like whenever somebody new joins, there is this addition to the culture of the team that you can feel and you can see. So it's so nice because everybody brings kind of the best selves. I think everybody is, of course, there's days that they are not motivated, and it's normal because it's still a job, and it's also a job for us. For us, it's our baby, it's our passion, but it's still a job. Like there's some days that I don't feel like coming to the office. I'm like, damn it, I wish I could stay in bed all day, but you don't because you have responsibilities. But same for them. I feel like some days it's just not there. But the good thing about culture, everybody brings their own energy. So in the same day, we can have maybe 4 people at the office as we were today. And each one of us brings a bit of energy. And if somebody lacks energy, we're going to be able to give that person energy through us. So I feel like everybody feeds off each other's energies. And this is why I feel very important the working space. I do not like remote.
Oh, okay. So I wanted to ask about this, and I almost skipped over it. But good. Okay, let's get into this. Why don't you like remote? Is your whole team based here in London?
Not the whole team. My co-founder is actually based in Madrid, but she comes a lot.
Okay.
We have one of our developers who's based between Italy and the UK. He comes a lot. Okay. We have also another developer is based in Morocco. He couldn't come here yet, but he met with my co-founder in Spain. So everybody kind of knows each other, so physically. And the rest, they're here. I mean, and we gave them the option, right? So we went from remote when we started because it was COVID and all of it. And we came to London. We're like, okay, guys, we're going to open offices. We actually had an employee that moved to Madrid when we were based there for an acceleration with us. And then he moved back to London with us.
Wow.
So I feel face-to-face connection makes this feeling real. The whole purpose of the company, being with each other, being able to do meetings together and sit in front of each other and say, okay, this is what I need. This is the board. So we have a huge board where we note things down. I feel like this gives a purpose beyond just the computer.
Yeah, I saw your board walking in, and I'm like, oh my God, you actually use these boards.
Yes.
I feels like having this this conversation is almost a little bit controversial now because so many people like being
I
remote
know.
first, and I can understand the reasons why.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in energy.
Yeah.
So two people's energy, like I refuse to do this podcast online for
Yeah.
exactly the reason you just described, is to be able to pick up on little signals in someone's energy and
I
how,
agree.
and so much of that's unconscious,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter because we're naturally wired to
Yeah.
pick up on that
I agree.
unconsciously. So these things, they catalyze and they add to this culture that you've described that seems to be working really well for you. But a lot of people don't like it. They don't like hearing that it's not
I agree.
in person. And how do you navigate that, or how do you respond to that? Because I know I have my response, which is basically go fuck yourself. But how do you respond?
Honestly,
it's not that bad.
Honestly,
How do you
I don't mind. Like, you can do whatever you want with your own company. We don't make people come to the office. By the way, we suggest, like, guys, if we're gonna actually get an office, please come at least twice a week. If you can't, it's no worries. Like, if you need to stay this week for the whole week at home, it's fine. So, but they are half remote. So we don't come into the office every single day. What I do, because I like it. This is my space. I feel like home. Okay. But they don't come in every day. But when they come in, it's so nice. It's so nice. And for example, we have these Zim Christmas dinners, or Zim, we order food and we do like lunch events all together. And it gives us a moment to actually bond as a team. And as you mentioned, feel each other's energies. And also it gives us a chance to discuss things that you wouldn't discuss online. Everybody's different in a team. And you are basically combining a bunch of different personalities that go towards the same goal. So this is the hardest thing you have to do as a manager. Just making sure that everybody's personality is taken into account and being able to have this discussion face to face. I think it's really valuable. And if people want to be remote, they can be remote. For me, can I work remotely? Yes. I feel like it's so depressing because you just lose touch. You lose touch with other people. You're basically building, everybody focuses only on their work and their tasks. And talking about tasks is so depressing.
Yeah, it's boring,
It's
right?
boring.
There's no human feel
There's
to it.
There's nothing.
And so what happens is every relationship becomes transactional.
Exactly.
It's purely transactional. You might remember during COVID, you'd stick a half an hour meeting in your calendar, and then you do that back to back to back, and realize you had 8 back to back half an hour Zoom calls, no time to eat, to go to the bathroom, to make some tea, and you realize that in person, everything, that's just not how we're meant to live. It's too regimented and rigid. And
you're sitting in a chair 24/7, right? So you don't have a space. Like, what I realize is you're super confused about time zones. You're basically sitting at the same desk where you have breakfast, you have lunch, you have dinner, in the same space where you're gonna sleep after, because working remotely, most people work from home. 24/7, you don't see anyone but the people that you maybe live with. So it's
really depressing.
It's toxic.
Well, it creates what we did is we created solitary confinement for ourselves, and because we chose it, we like it.
Exactly.
Right? Solitary confinement in prisons is only a punishment because you didn't choose it.
Exactly.
Here it's a gift because we chose it and we have our comforts at home.
Exactly. I understand it. When I see my team working from home, I'm like, if they choose to work from home on X days, I'm really happy because it means they get more flexibility. They maybe can go to do some sports after because they're closer to home. They get more time to maybe sleeping in the morning. So honestly, I'm happy. And also I understand that coming into the office in the morning in London, it's not the most comfortable thing. But the fact that they still have the option, but they still show up, for me, it's rewarding.
One of the concerns that I have when people don't see it the way you do, because if you're too rigid one way or the other, things start to go wrong. I think we had for a long time, working culture was you only work when you're in the office, but then you might stay in the office until like 8 p.m. or whatever, and now we take homework with us. That's also work home with us. That's also a challenge. But we have this more flexible space. When you have that, you get something really beautiful where you get you can get each other's energy and build non-transactional relationships, which we know improves outputs. One of my concerns is when you're too rigid either way, or you have too strong a preference either way, or you let too much happen either way, that basically either of the extreme ends create new problems. So one of the challenges I would see, I got really worried about young people coming out of university during COVID, because you'd go into a workplace, but you wouldn't. You go straight into being remote work.
Yeah.
And now I'm hearing from CEOs, Gen Z just don't know how to interview. They just don't.
They're not
They
used
never
to it.
had this.
Yeah, they
Exactly.
never had.
They never had the people skills. If part of your university was online,
yeah.
and then you started to work online, or you did an internship online, or there were no jobs because the economy just imploded in on
Yeah.
itself for a little while, then you don't have anything.
Yeah.
What you have is maybe like TikTok and Instagram culture, because that's the only experience you had. Whereas you've gone on the other end of that spectrum, and you've gone full in for like the work and self-responsibility side of things.
Exactly. And I was in an office before. And honestly, like, I'm seeing all these people that are saying, oh no, I cannot go to the office because X, Y, Z. Before, I was one of the people that before COVID, and when I was working in 2018, 2017, 2018, I was working for a company in London, actually, for Box.com, was one of the best years of my life. I learned so much. I was in the office, and it was 5 days a week, no excuses. Can I work from home was not even an option. Like, maybe from time to time, if you have a doctor's appointment or something, you had to have something, but otherwise, you are made to come to the office. Like, that's how it's supposed to be. So many people don't know about that. Because, as you mentioned, Gen Z, the people who just came out of university now, they do not know that this is how we did things before. And the culture that I experienced at Box, I think, influenced me a lot to try to build similar culture at Zim as well. And I like the fact to be at the office. I remember you used to grab coffees with your colleagues, you used to talk about things. And honestly, when I am here in the office and I see my team together and how they interact with each other and how they make jokes and they laugh, I think that's what makes me one of the things that makes me the most proud about Zim, is the fact that you put, like, literally we were talking with Julia the other day, we put on the same goal and on the same room a bunch of people that if Zim wouldn't exist, they had no way to know each other. So we literally like put a bunch of people that have amazing talent
together.
What
a great exercise, actually, isn't it? Because I think we go through life with just, we just happen to be here. But you can go through past jobs, you can go through, like, I don't know, basically anywhere that you got to know anyone non-transactionally. That could be classes you go to every week, it could be whatever. And write down a connection. I only know these people because of this. Reverse engineer that. Well, I introduced them to this other person. Maybe this other person and them are dating now. or whatever.
Exactly.
And you can trace all these things back and go, oh, I actually changed someone's life. Because it's the day-to-day minutia, we don't appreciate it. Something that simple can help us appreciate it. And when you can appreciate it, you can ask yourself the question, what decision do I want to make next? As a result. If I know this is the case, again, talking about the bank of evidence, so what is this bank of evidence that I've built up going to inform about what I do next? It turns the unconscious into the conscious. I love that. Hey everyone, I wanted to take one quick sec to talk about a new partner that I am so excited to announce I have on the show, an agency called Untapped. Untapped exists to put your brand in the world's pocket with beautifully crafted, high-impact mobile experiences. They've worked with brands like Barclays, EA Sports, American Express, and even the UK government. They're known for creating powerful apps with intuitive, seamless interactions that drive customer engagement and elevate brand recognition. But it isn't just tech development. Their expertise is bridging phenomenal quality technology with beautiful design to create the highest quality product possible that takes your users on a real journey with you. You may remember Will, the founder of Untapped, from episode 13 of the podcast. If you haven't heard that chat, I highly recommend it because it shows you what kind of no-nonsense, sleeves-rolled-up kind of people he and the team he's built really are, and it reflects in the kind of work that they do. They want to make their clients' work recognized across their industries. and drive real game-changing value, something I've personally experienced and appreciated working with them myself. For businesses who want to take this next step in their journey, Untapped can help with everything from tech creation to brand design to product marketing and so much more. All right, the links are down below. Check it out. And now back to the episode.
Yeah.
And earlier you mentioned this kind of intuition, this gut feeling. I think this is really powerful and really strong for all human beings. And a lot of us, one of my concerns is a lot of us don't listen to it.
Yeah.
Or a lot of us, we kind of feel it and we ignore it because we think it's not super important.
Yeah.
Or we haven't cultivated the necessary cocktail of ingredients to have a good intuitive feeling in the first place, right? Think gut feeling. Well, what if your gut is really unhealthy because you eat really bad or whatever? So does that affect your gut health? I don't know. But you get my point, is like intuition has so many strings that pull into it. Someone I brought on the show a few weeks ago, another founder, he's also raised, he told me that the Australian Aborigines, they believe we have two brains.
Okay.
Brain 1 is your gut, and brain 2 is your brain up here. And it's also important that number 1, the first one, is the gut. So in other words, the gut's leading, and the brain can reinforce that leading with extra knowledge.
So let me talk to you about gut.
Okay.
Because
Please
gut is my number one most researched word.
Really?
I have a lot of gut problems.
Okay.
But since I started Zim, I didn't used to have those.
Oh, interesting.
So how I just realized, because I went to a lot of doctors, right? At the beginning, we didn't know what was happening. Also, the gut, it's such an unpredictable part of your body. You don't, it's really hard to diagnose something. If you have SIBO, if you have IBS, if you have X, Y, Z, doctors are really confused. So you need to get so many tests in. And I got tested 20 times. And this started when I started with Zim. So little by little, I started getting intolerances to random things that I wasn't intolerant to before.
Like what?
Like lactose.
Okay. So milk, was eggs on that list?
No, very random.
Gluten?
Very, no, gluten I'm fine.
Okay.
It's lactose, and that is very random, because before nowadays I still, like, you know what they say, lactose intolerant people, they eat lactose all the time to just test. This is me. I keep drinking milk from time to time. So my gut, basically, once I started getting stress, and stress was part of my life every single day, my gut started deteriorating. And you know that feeling when you get scared, or you are going on a roller coaster and your gut goes down, you know that feeling?
Yes, the sinking feeling in
The
your
sinking
stomach.
feeling in your stomach. That sinking feeling is what I think it's exactly the definition of gut feeling. And that sinking feeling in the gut deteriorates the gut. So that's stress. So what I talked to natural doctors, neuropath. I talked to gut doctors. And every single one of them told me, stress. Eliminate stress.
Mm-hmm.
This is the most important thing. Like high cortisol levels is the biggest issue that you are having right now. So it's not that it's not the food that you bring into your body, because I tend to eat a very healthy diet. It's the stress. You know when you are stressed and you can't eat?
No, I'm the other way around. If I'm more stressed, I eat more. But yes, I know what you mean in principle.
General,
different people have food responses to stress.
Exactly. You have food responses to stress, and that deteriorates the gut.
Yes.
So if you're having stomach issues, most probably it's also related to stress. So what I've seen now is that I got medication for it. Nothing worked. So it's very random. What I have is very random. Some days I can feel my best. Some days I cannot eat a thing. Some days I can eat, for example, I can eat a burger, and then if the next day I eat a burger, everything will go to hell. So it's super random. And it's actually directly related to stress. And this is what I realized after 3 years. It's the fact that it's stress. So of course, it's hard to lower cortisol levels once you're in the high, just because I'm already rolling the mountain and just going up there. But I just realized that it's part of my journey now. I'm trying to relax to help my body heal, but gut, and that directly relates to gut feeling. If your gut, as I say it does, it goes down, that's when you know if it's good or not. So trusting your gut, some people have really good gut feelings, some people don't. I think it also comes with experience on the things that you have lived in the past. I think PTSD helps a lot.
Really?
Like having lived a situation, if you think you are doing a deja vu, like you're reliving it, that's bad.
Yes, that's a
bad.
really strong intuitive
Yeah,
indicator.
yeah.
It's like, this feels exactly the same in my gut.
Exactly.
And I don't know why, logically. But, so I try not to lose people with this. I think this is super important because I see intuition as a little bit of a connection to our wisest self, to the greater consciousness of the universe or the world. So marginally spiritually, but even physically, you could argue that the body is picking up on things that we just can't logically explain.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether it's deep within, or it's energetic, or it's spiritual, or it's mental, or it's emotional, this is just one big connected picture, and intuition is a path to feel these things out. What you described to me, and so I want to say something. I hope you take this in the right way, because I mean this really positively. I think you've built your business on intuition.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I think everybody builds out their business on intuition.
I think some people build it purely on logic. I know enough founders who have gone, this is when they're more experienced. They can go, these are the inputs, this will lead to this. They treat it like a formula. In this number of years, it should be worth roughly this much. The plan is to exit in 5. And they just play it like a game several times over, make their million several times over, and just peace out. As a multi-millionaire after 20 years exiting 5 startups or whatever.
But I think if I would do it again, that would be my goal. Because I don't think that, I think, you know, how they say your first times in everything. First time you try chocolate. First time you go to university.
Sure, okay.
First time you do anything, it feels so good. And it's of your first time, you're excited. So I think Zim is our first time, right? Everything is built on intuition because we didn't have the experience that comes with for building it with logic. I think if we will do a second business, a third business, a fourth business, we will build it logically.
I think the thing is, you have
the excitement
both. I think it's
goes
both.
away.
You think?
I do.
Because you know what it's like. You don't think you'd be as excited.
And you're already, you know, when you're, what we define Zim for us is like, we literally somebody took us, like absolutely naked, put us in a pool, and they're like, learn how to swim. And it's so exciting because it's the first time you go into the pool and maybe you do some mistakes, but it's exciting because you're learning how to do a new thing.
Sure.
But if you already know how to swim, everything will be more logical. You won't making mistakes is what made the Zim journey beautiful as well.
That's the fastest way to learn is through making mistakes and realizing it, right? And actually reflecting on it and learning.
But once you learned it, you will apply it again and you will become robotic.
The thing is, the world sends you things you could never have expected.
Yeah.
And when I say I think you've built your business off of intuition in a good way, what I mean is some people, I think, are more naturally predisposed to greater emotional and intuitive connection.
Okay.
And so you had, like, and these are things you couldn't have known logically, and this isn't a good or bad thing, it just is the way it is. Could you have possibly known that your relationship with your co-founder would be this strong this many years later? Because you said you've worked on it, and that's great. Some people think that at the beginning and then things go wrong or whatever. Could you have known that someone would try to scam you, but that you'd also learn from it as a result? Could you have, but at every single turn, every single challenge, every single mistake, something happened, something in the gut feeling, some emotionality happened, and it led you in a certain direction. And if you ignored it, that led to a certain outcome that you noticed, and it also reinforces the next gut feelings you had. One of the things I find so interesting about you and your journey is to have built something as successfully as you're building it straight out of uni like that is a very rare story. some incubators like EF or whatever
Yeah.
will try to do that, and it's a very low success rate. Usually when they grow, you've got to get more experienced people in for certain things or whatever. You had less of that structural, so you had advisors, you had incubators and things like that, but you were also very much on your own straight up, and it's like you just kind of made it work. And like how? Well, by making certain decisions and navigating certain
making
ways.
mistakes.
Which is well, yeah. And so your intuition navigated you towards a place where you either made a mistake or you ignored the intuitive feeling and made a mistake, and either way you had a chance to learn.
Exactly.
One of the things I think is interesting, and one of the reasons I say this is because when you talk about the stress element, I'm willing to bet, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I'm willing to bet that some of that stress comes because you so strongly emotionally feel things that are relevant to whatever's going on, right? So when you described that like person you had to kick out of the business who tried to sue you for it, you were having like stressful nights. Now I assumed earlier that it was because he was suing you, but was it ever before you did it? Did you ever feel that stressed, it's hard to sleep, whatever, because you knew tomorrow or in a week you were going to have to kick him out of the business?
Yeah.
So that might be, and I say might because I can't possibly fully know, that might be a sign of your intuition. Yeah. Your gut was saying, this is going to be hard, so be prepared for it.
Yeah, might have been. I do feel like we know before. And what we need to work on now is when we know, when we start knowing, we need to take action on things. And I think we're getting better at it. We're not perfect. We need to still learn on how to take immediate decisions. But yeah, we do. I know when something is going to go wrong. And not every time. There's some things I could have never imagined they would go wrong. But some things we were like, okay, we already started discussing long before we actually took the decision or the things happened.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised to hear that, because when you're as, we could call it empathetic, we could call it emotionally connected, use whatever words you want for it. When you feel things as strongly as it sounds like you do, it is natural. There's a high correlation between that and a strong intuitive feelings. From just what I've observed and things that I've learned out in the world in general. And so that's a real superpower. But most of our greatest gifts are also our curses. And most of our curses are also our gifts. In other words, things that are that strong are often a double-edged sword. For you, the other side of that double-edged sword is greater stress. And so your responsibility to yourself is to manage that, because you've been given a gift that also has downsides unless you manage the downsides.
So I think, as you mentioned, it's a gift. We do have a lot of intuition, that's true. But it also comes with a lot of different types of feelings that I think we should not always try to feel.
Like what?
So having intuition also means that you also need to be in control. So once you're not in control, your intuition is basically killed.
Okay.
Because if you don't know what's going on and you don't feel in control, your intuition cannot play its role. So does it make sense?
Kind of. Can you describe it to me in different words? Could you rephrase what you mean in different words?
In order to be able to have an intuition on a subject, or for example, somebody comes into the team and you're like, this person might not work out, let me train them, let me put this more resources, and after like 2 months you're like, it's not going to work out, but let's give it a chance. That's already your intuition telling you, do something about this, right?
Okay.
Even if that person, maybe it's performing, maybe it's culturally they're not a fit, whatever, these small things. And your intuition is telling you like, fuck, you should do something about this.
Okay.
If you're not in control of making that decision, your intuition serves you no purpose.
Oh, I see what you mean. What if you don't have control, but you do have influence? How do you think that changes things?
Oh, I am not sure. But influence, Yeah, influence and control, I think, can be very closely merged together. I think control is the bad word to describe influence.
Sometimes. So are you familiar with the concept of the circle of influence?
No.
Okay, so imagine, and I would draw this out for you, but I wouldn't be able to put it on the camera, so I will just describe it. Imagine we have a big circle,
Yeah.
and this circle is called the circle of concern.
Okay.
Anything you could possibly be concerned about in the world, the political state of this, or absolutely everything, straight down to, stuff in your life that you can control. Everything you could possibly be concerned about. Within this, in the very middle, there's a small circle called your circle of control.
Okay.
So within everything you could be concerned about, there's a small amount you can directly control.
Actually control, yeah.
Now there's a middle circle. So your circle of control is within another circle, which is within the biggest circle. So 3 circles. And that middle circle is your circle of influence.
Okay.
In other words, you can influence more than you can directly control. And you can learn to expand or through work and through achievements, whether that's money or network or whatever, you can expand the circle of influence to encompass more of the things you could be concerned about. Now, very few people can influence or control everything they could possibly be concerned about.
Yeah, which is impossible.
The stress will always come from wanting to control more or being concerned about too much. So imagine these 3 circles, right? Yeah. You can put your attention on one of them. You can put it on the control, on the influence, or on the concern.
Okay.
If you put it on the concern, you're doing more worrying and less of whatever work you need to do. So the other circles shrink. What you can influence and control shrinks.
Yeah.
If you put all of it on control, you can start to try to expand it, but you're only one person. You will never be able to control everything, right? And you know this, leading a team of 9 people is like you asking someone else to do that. Are you controlling your product? Or are you influencing your CTO and developers to control the product? Yeah. And you could say it's your control. It's in your direct influence, which is very similar to control.
Okay, I understand what you mean
now,
in the difference.
If you put if you put attention, because where attention goes, energy flows. So if you put your attention into the influence, expand your circle of influence by making more money, by making a better network, by having a bigger brand online, whatever. What happens is the circle of control will stay the same, the circle of concern will stay the same, but the circle of influence will expand. And when you're focused on control and when you're focused on concern, that increases stress because you want to do something, but you can only do so much with it. But influence, I can just ask this person to do that thing. And it just feels so much lighter.
It flows, right? I wish I would know that feeling.
You will. I'm willing to bet you do. Yeah. Whenever you ask someone to do so, do you have someone in the team? And I know the answer is yes, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you have someone in the team where you can just ask them, hey, can you do this for me? And it will just be done. You don't have to think about it.
Yes, and I'm working on that. But I think that's also personality. Personality-wise, I'm very keen on control.
Okay.
So it's not that I am micromanaging. It's the fact that I need to stay in control of all the parts of my life, which is definitely not great. So I'm going to ask somebody to do something, but I will then ask them tomorrow if they did it. Mm-hmm. I will trust that they will do it fine, but I will still, just to make sure that I tick this box in my mind, right? Okay. Control.
Okay.
So I need to stay in control. And that has been a huge problem for myself, mostly, because I am the one that stresses for stuff that I shouldn't stress about.
Yeah, it gives you more reasons to stress. Exactly. And it keeps your brain ticking over.
So unnecessary. So now that, for example, we have a new CTO that came into the team, I asked him about something, and I was like, oh, I haven't received the email. And he was like, no, I took you out from the threads. You don't, it's fine. You need to concentrate on other things. I'll take care of it. And I was like, no.
Put me back in, please.
And I stayed and I was like, this makes sense. I have such smart individuals in my team, much smarter than me. Why am I still bickering on these really small things that I shouldn't worry about? Because that's why they're here. That's why we hired them, because they're smarter and they can do it better than us.
I think there's a healthy balance there. Like, you knowing all the things that's going on can help because the team's quite small.
Yeah.
You do need to have more direct influence or control
Of course.
over things while it's smaller.
But some
the
of them
challenge
are
will
not
be
necessary. I
well, there
swear
you go.
to you.
Well, there you. I know the feeling. It's like you're just like, why am I still? But when you get bigger, that
Yeah.
will need to be something that you think about more,
Yeah.
definitely, because what you're describing now, if you know that your gut health is linked to, so this is an interesting
Yeah.
circle, because your emotionality, if we say that leads to intuition,
Yeah.
the intuition requires gut health, but you also have stress affecting this, but the emotionality affects the stress.
So everything is connected.
Everything's a big connected mess. It's only messy when one of these things is out of harmony,
Yeah.
right? You have some real superpowers.
Yeah.
The curse part is to get
To balance.
is to
balance
feel
them
it
out,
really
yeah.
big. So I guess the question is like, how have you noticed? And so talking about that gut health and talking about that stress, how do you deal with that now? Because you told me, at the beginning, the last 6 or so months, you've made some changes. Things weren't. Is that because of this? Like that stress was getting so bad and it was affecting your health too? And
I think as mentioned before, I was in a really not dark place, but I was seeing everything was bad. So if we got good news, I was like, we got, for example, a new client sign. Oh, but that means next week on Monday we will need to start deploying this project.
How did that happen? Like, why did that start?
I don't know. I think after you start building something and you're so into it and you don't, basically your head is like this and you're seeing in a tunnel.
Yes.
And you're like, nobody understands me. My friends don't get me. My partner doesn't get me. My parents don't get me. You're like, and you're crazy enough to build your own business. Of course, nobody is going to understand exactly what you're doing, but everybody's going to support or try to support. So I was literally in this really dark tunnel where I was like, I felt misunderstood.
Yes.
And I felt really lonely when I have an amazing team next to me. I have my amazing co-founder. I have an amazing partner. I have an amazing parents. I have really good friends. Sometimes they will not understand, as I do not understand sometimes what they do. And getting out of this tunnel was really, really important. Everything was like, and even with my co-founder, I was self-harming all my relationships. Like, I was literally in a bad mood 24/7, and I had no reason to. Like, everything was going well. I don't know. I think it was self-inflicted, and I think I was looking way too much in one single direction, where I'm not appreciating anything else. Everything was business, business, business. And even when business was going well, I was always seeing the bad side of things, like super negative. And this is not me. I am a super positive person. We got cyber attacked. That was at really, really beginning of the business. Wow. That was really funny. So the first thing that we did was laugh. It's like, who is really attacking a startup? It was literally one of our first week of operations. Like, who would attack us? Yeah. Which made us learn a lot and improve on our security and really, really invest in that. And nowadays that would never happen. But the first thing we did was laugh. It's like, do I have things under control here? Like, yes, we fixed it. At least let's laugh about it. I mean, it's a story that we will tell in the future, and it will be funny. Now it's not funny, but it will be funny. So I was a really positive person, and I am. But at that stage, I was just like bitter. I was bitter, and I had no reason to be bitter.
Well, you had no logical reason.
Logical
right?
reason, of course.
But if it's happening, it's happening for
exactly,
a reason, and
exactly.
that needs to be valued, right? So how did you notice it? Like, I think so much of the transformation comes in the noticing. So you noticed it somehow.
Yeah, I was always like, no was my favorite word, and I was like, why? I'm saying no to everything. Do you want to do this? No. Even for business wise, I was like, should we develop this new feature? No. I was just like. If you're a business owner, you don't, of course, you cannot be happy 24/7. You cannot be motivated 24/7. That's absolutely impossible. But you should have these moments of realization of fuck, I'm actually building something really cool here. I didn't have those. And everything was no, no, no. Everything was an effort. I need to go to the gym. Oh, I need to go see my friends. So, like, it's such a long journey. And I mean, you can't live your life like this. If you live your life like this, and I know many people too, because it's a state of mind, and I've been there. Yeah, that's the moment when I realized, like, I'm just living for living. Like, it's just I'm breathing for breathing. Like, I'm here, but I'm not here. So I was like, no, I don't want to be like that. I want to change. And I'm normally a positive person. I need to go back to myself.
I think that's so powerful. We get to label who we are to some extent, right? Is this the person I want to show up as?
Yeah.
Are these the actions I want to have?
Yeah.
Is this the thought I want to have? If we are, as we were saying earlier, there's a few levels to it. And one of those levels, you are whatever your brain does and whatever chemicals you release.
Yeah.
On one of those levels, you are whatever you do. And if on all of those levels, it is not what you want, it's up to you to change them, right? When you're obviously, like, when we were kids, we're predisposed to certain things, and that it isn't on us because we can't start to work on
you
things.
You can't control everything. Yeah.
Once you become an adult, and then you became an adult very fast because you didn't just become an adult in one level of your life. You became an adult in multiple levels by starting a business and going out into the real world and finishing uni all at once. That probably sped up. Do you think that sped up the challenges in life as well? Because if it speeds up the timeline of your life almost, do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Jumping into the deep end so fast. It might also speed up.
Yeah,
it speeds up the good and the bad.
It speeds up the good and the bad. I'm going to speak for myself because I don't know how others are feeling about this when, like, other business owners that just came out of university and started their own ventures. But myself, I feel like I do have really different challenges. And you're right, it sped up the challenges of my life as a person, as an adult. I feel like I have adult routines much faster than my friends.
And when I
talk to them, like, my friends sometimes are like, oh, and we went out and we did this and went to the club, and I was like, okay.
What's that?
That's and I still like to go out, but then I do have the feeling that that's personality wise. It also connects me more on my free time to my inner child. I miss that part of myself so much, and I feel like the change was so that drastic that on my day-to-day, I am this person, but on my weekends, I like to do really fun things. Like, I feel like sometimes I'm a kid, and I behave like a kid on my personal moments.
I think that's so important, though. We all have an inner child that is worth, like, children. Do you have, like, nieces or nephews or whatever? Like,
I do.
Children are so smart and they're so wise because they haven't put up layers and masks of how things should be yet. And so tapping into our inner child, we're just like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's fun. And just, I just think it's so important. And it gives you more energy. Did you notice it giving you more energy when you made that shift to do the other things?
Yes, and also I think one of my friends describes it really well. I feel like he said at one point, like, we were sitting in a pub, and at the beginning of the night I was telling them about, well, my days are really different, right? And I can't help them. When we were fundraising, I was talking to them and I was telling my friends, oh yeah, we're fundraising 1.5 million with this type of investor, with this type of terms, and I was explaining them how VCs worked and stuff like that. You have to imagine that none of my friends is in startup. Really. So they don't get it.
Yeah.
So I was explaining to them how all of that worked, and literally 2 hours later, I was like on my 4th pint.
Yeah.
And I was completely change of subject. And I was just talking about, like, stuff that happened in their lives and personal things. And it was fun, it was light. So my friend told me, like, it's really shocking how you can go from one thing to the other, like, super fast. So I think that's what we talked before, like, being a chameleon. I think that's... I like the Irina, the business Irina.
Mm-hmm.
I do really like her. But I also like my side of being spontaneous, being silly,
Mm-hmm.
being a person in her 20s. Like, you know, I don't know, because I see my friends and I want to be like them.
Be like that. Be like elements of that, right? I
Yeah.
don't think you'd be doing what you're doing now if you wanted everything about their
Of
lives,
course,
you know?
no.
But the playfulness and silliness, and so
Yeah.
like my challenge to you to think about would be, how can you instill more of that silliness in your day to day? Because if you're working, you know, when you're building a startup, you're working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, plus a bit on the 7th day or whatever. You know what I mean, though? Whereas, you know, can the day start more silly or end more silly, or I don't know, something.
Some
'Cause the
days
thing
they
is,
can.
You are the person who is silly and are also the person who is leading the business.
Yeah.
It isn't one or the other.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the case of the mask. I take one mask off and put another on right now.
But I think everybody does that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone has different personalities depending on who they're talking to.
When you know that it's a mask, you get to decide what mask you put on, to wear,
Exactly.
to craft even.
Exactly.
Can I just have one mask that I wear everywhere that is the combination? Maybe not, but maybe a little bit. I don't know.
Exactly. No, I would love that.
Because whenever I see your energy is always very good and enjoyable to talk to. You're very bubbly. It's very positive. And, you know, but obviously I'm not seeing what your co-founder is seeing, what your close relationships are seeing, what whatever, or what your team is seeing as well. Like, I'm not seeing what anyone else is seeing. So you get, I love, and I think it does put some people off because it means you have to have some agency. But someone like you, I think, will really, hopefully would also really love is you get to decide.
Who you
have
are,
the freedom.
Exactly. Who you want to show.
How you want to show up as being.
Exactly. There's some days that I need to show a different mask, and I do, and this is why I feel like since I change a lot my personality depending on the person. I at the end of the day I'm like, who am I when I'm with myself?
So who are you when you're with yourself?
I don't know. Sometimes I'm really boring, and sometimes I'm really fun.
I bet we're all really boring sometimes. Because it's to ourselves, right?
Exactly. And
we're used to ourselves.
When I just wake up sometimes on a Sunday, I'm like, oh, I just feel like reading a good book in my sofa. And you're like, you're in your 20s. Just go out, do something. And you're like, nah. No.
I get the feeling. No, it's because in a way you grew up faster, and so you know if that's what you need for yourself, that's what you need for yourself. And also it's like it's what you enjoy. Like, you know, I don't know. You'll especially someone like you'll intuitively know.
Yeah.
If this is right for me or not, and if that's what you want, and it feels good, and it isn't causing stress or something, then you probably know it's the right decision. Look, this has been really interesting. We've gotten a few ways, and as we start to wrap up, what I really want to reflect on is your experience going through all these things. You have your perspective on what it means to be a leader from a first-hand perspective, having maybe received a little bit of it from other people, but you know maybe it was non-traditional, maybe it's through your family, but you didn't see much of it in a work position, and then you went straight into being a leader in that position. What does it mean to you to be a leader?
So I did have some really good examples next to me. My manager at Box, I really look up to him, and he was a great manager.
Why?
I felt he really understood me, and he really pushed me to be better. Okay. So I think I took a bit of that from him, of what my definition of a leader is. And I see the people around me, my sister, she has been a manager, and I don't know, I always looked up to her. She's my big sister. We have 15 years difference.
Oh, wow.
So there you go.
That's a big difference.
I really look up to her. So for me, what a leader is, for my company, I'm not going to say in general, but for my company, what I see as leadership is what I mentioned before. Getting a person in a team and being able to put your vision into that person's mind, make them agree to this vision, and for them to be able to shape it around their own personality. And doing that like several different times with several different people and putting them all together, making basically a puzzle of different skills and different personalities, and making that puzzle fit in perfectly. just because you are giving them the whole vision of it and they can perform on that. So basically, each individual that comes into a team, I believe that every single person on this planet has a lot of potential. I do believe, though that potential is not fully exploited. And I think it's never going to be 100% exploited. Because it's your work, right? Like, people might love their job, but they never come in at 100, 1000%, right? All the time.
Okay.
So I think for me, being a leader is trying to, I'm going to say exploit, but what's the beautiful word for exploit?
Encourage.
Encourage to get that. Exactly. Encourage to get that potential to its maximum level. So basically, for me, as a leader, is basically taking the lemon and squeezing it. But squeezing it in a good way to make a bunch of lemonade that tastes amazing.
Yeah.
Because as a leader, like, you can have a bunch of people that are very talented, but if they're not bringing their full potential because they don't believe in a vision, you don't care. You can have the smartest person in the world. If they're not interested about their vision, if they're not going to bring their full potential to your business, then it means you're not a good leader.
That I like that. I think there's what one of my previous guests told me. He's exited a startup for 8 figures and advises the government. There's all these things, and he says, if you don't set a vision, other people will set it for you.
Yeah, and it will become a smoothie of visions.
Of different visions, and that just doesn't work. What that suggests to me, though, is not just what you need to do, but why you need to do it. In other words, people need a vision to work towards.
Exactly.
So your role is to set that. And I love this idea of, like, this is the vision. Everyone else has their way of contributing to it, or their purpose in contributing to it.
Exactly.
And so it's just galvanizing and encouraging them to use that thing for that thing. We all show up as being 100% ourselves.
Yeah.
And ourselves includes whatever the purpose we're working towards is right
now. And also, I feel like our vision as a company is we want to connect everyone, everywhere, at all times, right?
Okay.
That's very broad. That doesn't mean we want to connect them.
Which is good.
Just for travel. It's broad, right? And every single person in the team interprets that differently. And it might be also personal goals. Hey, I want to be the first marketing manager that connected everyone everywhere at all times. You know? So everybody, like, they don't need to work towards my goal as Irina. They need to work towards the goal of the company, of Zim. Which, what I would like is to keep this goal kind of constant. Of course, the purpose to reach these goals are going to be different, and the objectives, like, we started off B2C. So the purpose was to connect every single individual everywhere at all times. Now we are switching to B2B. So now we want to connect every single business everywhere at all times. But still the vision is we want to be the connector.
This is important. Like, remember, Google. When you think Google, what do you think about? You think search engine, some AI that's not as good as competitors. You think, like, stuff like this.
Buying companies all the time.
Yeah, really, like, nice offices, whatever. Remember, their vision that they set out at the beginning, or maybe more mission, is to organize the world's information. Their mission was to organize the world's information, and it still is.
It does, and they do.
And they do. It also, it's broad enough. They still have further to go to make it happen.
Exactly.
And it's just a case of how. The how will change.
Yeah, exactly.
And different teams will have their way of contributing to the how, or maybe their own little hows. Google Cloud is doing it in one way. Google Search is doing it in another.
So I love that example. I think that's what we are envisioning here as well. If it's your own personal goal, that's fine. But there's a different how, and there's a different purpose every time to how to achieve this vision. But just to make sure that this vision is clear 100%. And if you lose focus of that vision, you can easily come back to it because you know what it is.
Who do you aspire to be? A lot of this has been reflecting on the past, reflecting on the very recent past or the present, how you navigated through it. and elements of like who you are and how we show up, as well as how that turns into the thing that you're leading. Eventually, this company, I mean, maybe you'll be with it until you're 80 or whatever. Maybe you'll sell it, whatever. You'll move on to your, you said earlier, you'll move on to your second, third, whatever startup. What will remain is you.
Yeah.
So there's the vision for the company and there's the vision
Yeah.
for you. So what's the vision for you?
I haven't really reflected on this much. As a founder, you are always on the next thing and you don't really stop and reflect on things. And this is something that with my co-founder, we said we should at some point sit down and think about everything that happened. So personally, I haven't had, maybe I'm not going to say the time, because you always can have time if you want to have time. Maybe I didn't want to actually reflect on where I want to be. I just want to go with the flow. But if I would have to say something of where I see myself is, at the end of the day, what you're building as a startup founder is influencing people. So at the end of the day, what you're building a product, okay, but that product will influence people. Because you're not building it for robots, or at least we are not.
Yeah.
We are building a product that will be used by people and made by people. This is why we have a team. At the end of the day, what I want is, I know my team at some point will move forward, right? To another challenge of their lives, another role, maybe build out their own companies, which honestly I would love to see. But everybody will move on from Zim at some point in the future. What I want is for the people that worked next to me and with me to reflect of me as being, as having influenced a bit of their life in a good way. Like having given them maybe examples of how for them to be a good leader in the future, of them how to build their own companies in the future. I would like to be set up as a good example, but that's a big challenge to achieve. Let's see. I'm not the best manager. I'm not the best leader. Will I be? Let's see. I'm still learning. But yeah, let's see where it goes.
Well, influence and inspiration are very similar words for a reason.
Yeah.
You will have influenced them by nature of inspiring them through all you're doing and achieving.
Yeah.
And you probably don't know.
Hopefully.
They might tell you.
Yeah.
Many people don't.
No, I think...
especially in this culture. People just kind of keep it to themselves.
Exactly. And sometimes unspoken...
There are unspoken little signals,
Yeah,
unspoken measures of appreciation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are better.
I like that. So now thinking then, if you had to... So it's kind of... I'll ask you two questions, but really it's like one answer to two questions. It's the same thing from two different perspectives. If you had to start over...
Oh, well.
What would you do differently? / what would you advise to other people, especially if they were in a similar position to you, young, out of university, whatever, to do when starting something bigger than themselves?
I wouldn't change anything.
Okay.
So I'm sure everybody tells you this, but it's true. Because if I change something, I don't know where we would be. So the unknown, they say founders, entrepreneurs are the most risk-averse people because we plan every single detail of our business or life. Even I have a financial plan until 2026, right? Okay.
Really?
Of course.
For the business or for yourself?
No, for the business.
Okay,
for
yeah,
myself, I only have it for 1 year.
Yeah, fair.
But still, like we plan ahead and we know everything will be different. You never know what can happen, but we still plan it, right? So we're quite risk adverse. So I wouldn't change anything because I like where we are now. I would, if I could redo some things, I wouldn't do the same mistakes. But if I maybe if I wouldn't have done those mistakes, I wouldn't be here either. So no, I wouldn't change anything. I would leave it as it is.
Okay. Using the learning from those mistakes,
yes.
Then what would you advise someone else to do next to get started or to do differently to you if they were getting started?
If you believe in your idea, then go for it. Trust your gut. I think we talked a lot about that. And surround yourself with smarter people than you, first of all, because you're never going to be the smartest. And I think that for every single person on this planet, there's always going to be someone that knows more about the subject than you. So if you're going to an industry that a bit more challenging, just surround yourself with really, really smart people and get a co-founder. Like, I would never start a business solo. I've seen people with solo businesses, and it's if I think this is hard, oh wow. Take a good co-founder. Like for me, the most important thing in my journey was my co-founder. Like, I think without Julia today, we wouldn't be here. And maybe it's the case for her as well. You'll have to ask her. But there's not only the fact that you're dividing responsibilities, you also have someone shoulder to not cry on, but lean on every time you need, and vice versa. When I'm not giving my 100%, she is, and vice versa. So there's moments where I tell her, oh my God, I'm praying for a 9 to 6 job. And she's like, no, you're not. So we literally bounce the ball between each other. And I think that, like, when I go crazy, she doesn't, and vice versa.
Are these things that you think other founders have gotten wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think everybody thinks it's easy to find a co-founder. It's not. I've seen programs. We've been part of several programs where accelerations that had a phase before we went in where they mixed and matched co-founders randomly.
Okay.
Most of those companies are dead.
Yeah.
Because of co-founder relationship. Having a co-founder doesn't mean you have a person to talk to about business. No. Having a co-founder means that if at 9 p.m. you need to call someone to rant because XYZ happened, you can have that. It's more powerful than a marriage. It's more powerful than being in a relationship.
I've heard this before. As there was one founder I know, she was like, finding a co-founder has been harder than finding a husband.
Exactly.
Like, wow.
It's true. And we had to work hard to achieve where we are now as a co-founder relationship. You're under a ticking time bomb when you work on a startup.
Yeah.
You have literally everybody tries to slap you in every single turn that you take. Competition, financing, team, having to work on every single thing. Like you're in one day. Before, now not anymore. I have a more focused role, but before I was in one day HR, CFO, CRO, sales officer, party organizer, and I don't know what else. I was literally everything. And when you're under this such huge stress, it's really hard to be mean. It's really easy to be mean. Like when you spend so much time with this person next to you, who are you gonna pay your frustrations with? This person. So,
you were already good friends with your co-founder, right? And so for some people they can't do that, right? No. It's like I can't work with my friends.
I couldn't do it with other people.
So when you say you had to work on this relationship, what were you doing? Like, what did that work look like?
So at the beginning we were mixing a lot of personal and business, which was too much mixture. So I think we were trying to figure out how to bring in the business to a relationship, but we didn't want it to give away our relationship, so we were mixing it too much. Okay. Then business started taking over the personal relationship, and at some point we could only speak about the business. We were sitting in a coffee shop in a coffee place in Madrid, and we were just sipping on our coffees, talking about Zim 24/7. At some point, we're like, okay, this needs to stop.
I'm tired. This is annoying.
Exactly. We've been working for 12 hours. Now you want to grab a coffee and talk more about the same thing. And it was going into a vicious circle about talking about the same subject all over again and then all over again. And
what starts to happen is you're losing that person. And so it becomes a case of I miss you. Yeah. Because I haven't seen you in months.
Exactly.
Emotionally and mentally,
exactly. So now we just arrived to a point where when we are together, like for example, on a Monday, we talk on a Monday morning, and the first thing we say, okay, how was your weekend? Tell me, but not how was your weekend, the way you
passively.
Exactly. Yeah. All good. No, we literally say, oh, I did this and I did that, and then she asked me, oh, what should I buy my mom for Christmas or whatever, So we have these really personal chats. Okay. And then I'll finish talking about our personal lives. Let's go to Zim. what are the goals for this week? Let's talk about KPIs and things like that. And whenever she's here, for example, we spend the day at the office, we talk business, but then at night we're like, okay, let's do a yoga session together, or let's go for dinner. To reward ourselves, we have this really nice ritual where we go to McDonald's.
Nice.
So I absolutely hate like McDonald's now.
Okay.
But it's still our celebration meal.
Okay.
When we got our first investment, when we got our second investment, when we got our first client. It's a thing. So now we get McDonald's. So see, this is our thing. That it feels like our own ritual. So we still do those things. It's not easy. It's not gonna work for everyone. Working with and I see people around me that are like, oh, I could work with my best friend. It's really hard. And people think it's easier than what it actually is. And your co-founder is the person that you love the most, but you want to kill the most.
Yeah.
So it's like a 50-50 feeling. So you need to have a really good balance with that person. So I think for anybody that wants to come into entrepreneurship, the most important thing is choosing the right co-founder.
Okay. And what do you see other founders getting wrong? What else do you see people getting wrong?
At the end of the day, who am I to judge? Because we got so many things wrong.
Well, exactly. That's it. It's not judgment. Yeah. It's awareness or acknowledgement. You're like, oh yeah, I remember thinking that was a good idea. Ha! No, it wasn't. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, first-time founders. What I see that we get wrong a lot is budget. You only budget for the stuff that you think you need. No. You need to budget for unexpected things. Everything like budgeting wise, so many unexpected things are going to happen. And also spending money that you don't need to spend. At the beginning, it's easy because this is why companies love to sell to pre-seed companies. Like you have so many salespeople reach out to pre-seed companies because it's new money, there's new founders, and they think they need everything. They need a tool for optimization of X. They need the automation for Y. No, you don't need all of that. You definitely don't need it. And if it's your first business, you need to learn a lot of things by yourself. So you don't need tools. You need to do it. And I think at the beginning we were very overwhelmed, like, oh, this tool does this and let's spend money on this. No, focus. Focus on what's the goal. It's so easy to lose focus on what your product is, and because you have so many people telling you what you should do and what you should buy. So in that sense, I see a lot of founders getting wrong on how much money they spend at the beginning, until they actually figure out that went literally to the bin directly.
Yeah. You go, I have $5,000 for marketing, and then like, 6 months goes by. It has just done nothing, and you just lost the money.
Literally, it's like putting down the drain. Give them to us. We need.
I love it.
So yeah, I think budgeting and surrounding yourself with somebody that actually has done it before and ask them questions. Like I would have loved in my first months as an entrepreneur to be able to ask somebody that did it before, in a similar sector than ours.
Yeah, it strikes me that you're a really reflective person though, and which is great because it's only through that time going, was this right? Was this wrong? Am I right to judge? Am I right? By asking these curious questions, you get new answers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you've learned really fast. How has it been now, the place you've gotten to now, to have learned these things so quickly, to be able to reflect on these things so effectively? Like, how do you feel? You know what I mean? Do you feel the sense of achievement? Do you feel the sense of like positivity? Like what's the day-to-day sense reflecting on where the journey the last few years?
Look, some days I wake up and I think I'm gonna eat the world.
Okay.
I'm gonna take over. And
I love that saying. I love that expression.
That's an expression that we take from Spanish directly.
Okay,
so
I've never heard it. That's why.
You eat the world. Exactly. You basically take over everything and you are empowered.
I love it.
You're the share. You're like, yes,
what is it in Spanish?
Comerse el mundo.
Okay. Spanish is the first language on my list of languages to learn.
Go for it.
I feel like if I pull that out with a friend of mine who's Spanish, he's gonna be like, "What are you talking about?"
He's gonna understand for sure. Okay. It's something that we say a lot.
Oh man.
And there's days that I think I think to myself, what am I doing? Like, who am I to be doing this? Like, what am I talking about? And sometimes I hear myself in some meetings and I'm like, Irina, what the hell? Like, what's happening? You know, so the imposter syndrome is there. But I think most entrepreneurs get this. And yeah, there's days that everything seems like super bright. There's days that not. Trying to fight imposter syndrome as always. I'm really well surrounded. So psychologically, I can take care of myself because I have a lot of people around me. So I'm really, really lucky in that sense. And it's a lot of hard work. So I like what I'm doing. I'm really, really passionate about it. I am happy with my life. I reflect back and I'm happy with my journey. So
Good.
I honestly, like, I'm looking forward to see what's gonna happen.
Even better. Good. I love that.
Because
Yeah.
I have no idea. The thing is, I realized that I planned everything from A to Z, right? Where the product was gonna go, who was gonna come into the team, how much money was gonna be spent, when we were gonna sell. I just said, do not plan, because literally in the past 6 months, everything changed. New investor, new product, new focus, new team members. So I was like, you know what? All the time that I planned, I could have done something else. So I do plan.
Yeah.
I still plan because it's good to have a plan. I have an A plan, a Z plan, an X plan. Right? So
What are those? So you don't have a B or C. You
No.
go straight to Z and then back to X?
Back to X.
Okay.
So plan A is if everything goes as it's supposed to go. So as a founder, at least myself, I do not plan positively. I always plan negatively and normal. So plan A is what if everything stays normal and the normal situation would happen. Plan Z is what if everything goes to hell and the whole world explodes and nothing goes right. What we will do. And plan X is what if stuff doesn't go my way and there's some changes, but it doesn't have to be 100% negative.
Okay, why did you choose X as the letter?
Because it's in between, but it's still a bit negative.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know, honestly.
One of the most powerful reframes that I love is not saying things as positive or negative, but helpful or unhelpful.
Helpful or unhelpful.
Yeah, the way you wanted it to go and the way you didn't, but maybe it needed to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I still plan. I do have those plans there.
Okay, so you have your most ideal. You have your what if everything I want doesn't happen, and you skip Y and you go to Z, and then you go to X. So you go backwards, skip one, go to X, and you go, what if... So you have like the middle road, the least ideal road, and then the middle of the middle and least ideal.
Exactly.
Sounds really like negative, doesn't it, when you frame it that way?
I do, because if good stuff happens...
Great, yeah.
That's easy.
That's
when my job becomes easy.
Yeah.
My job as the founder and CEO of these companies make sure that I plan for the worst.
Yeah, you're a glorified firefighter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I plan, but I also allow myself to be surprised.
Yes.
Positively, hopefully. Sometimes negatively. But I allow myself to be surprised. So I think I'm really, really looking forward to what's going to happen to this new area of ZIM. And what I've been told before is that the challenges we had were the challenges of a small company. Now we need to get ready for the challenges of a medium-sized company, a large company, etc. So as we scale up, we'll have bigger problems, more challenging. I think I'm ready.
I love to hear that. That's good.
I think
life is a journey, and the journey, one of my sayings is the journey is the destination. Yeah. You are living life to be on the journey, and to be excited about the journey is the best thing you can do. So that's really cool. I'm excited for you.
Yes, I'm excited as well.
As I bring the conversation to a close, I've got a closing question I like to ask everyone. I wonder if I'm interested to see what you say. We might have even covered it, but we'll see. It's not necessarily specific to anything we talked about before. It's a very personal, deep life question. And it's the same question for everyone. It's my favorite kind of question.
Okay.
And the question is, what is the biggest question in life that you are currently searching for an answer to? It could be anything.
No, wow. I have so many answers to that, but I don't know if I should go the funny route or
Whatever speaks most to you.
how can we make the world more efficient?
Okay.
That's business-wise.
Mhm.
I think we are living in a world where we're talking a lot about AI and tools and automation and blah, blah. I feel like we are not as efficient as we think. The fact that to take a decision within a large organization that they are saying they are innovative takes 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, I know.
It feels like we are zero efficient.
Have you ever been stuck in traffic where
yeah.
it's moving a little bit
Yeah.
and people are trying to skip the queue
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they go?
yeah. So,
What a friend of mine said to me is the reason the traffic is so bad is because people are trying
exactly.
to skip queues, and
That's
that
why.
actually
Yeah.
just makes it
Apparently,
slower.
that's why. Yeah.
And his thing, he's a developer. He's like, eventually, when all these cars are AI self-driving cars, you won't have this issue anymore. That will just go away
No.
because the AI cars won't do that, which
No.
is what creates the actual problem. We think we're like, I'm cutting ahead
Exactly.
by
We
using
think
this
we're
tool,
so efficient.
and it's actually just slowing us down.
Exactly. We think we're so efficient. And that's my question business-wise. How can we be more efficient?
Yeah, well, this is where AI governance comes in.
Exactly. But also, I don't think the question is how. I think, are we ever going to be able to be very efficient as a world? I need to see.
Yeah, we'll find out.
We'll
I guess.
find out. And personally, my personal questions, I think I have a lot of them, but who will I be in 10 years?
Okay.
That's I really wanna see that.
You'll also find that one out too.
I will hopefully I'll find that
Yes.
one out. But because I see so many different versions of myself, and I want to be so many different versions. Maybe I want to have a family, but at the same time I don't.
Okay.
I
You have your family at Zim, and then so this is the thing: is like, how do you make that decision now, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
but also I feel like as a person, you make your own decisions to achieve a certain goal. But my goal right now might change in 6 months, or might change in 2 years, or might change in 5. So I want to see the Irina in 10 years. I would love to fast forward and see it and just come back.
Spoil the surprise, though.
Yeah, I would. Oh, I definitely would. Yeah, who will I be and what will I have achieved by then?
I love that. Well, I think we're all excited to find out.
Yeah.
One of my favorite reframes on like comparison mindset. A lot of people compare themselves.
Mhm.
The only person worth comparing yourself to is you in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, so if you have a vision for you in 10 years, great. I think having curiosity to that is also great, right?
Yeah.
So does Irina in 10 years, is that someone who's been super successful in business in certain ways? Great. And then you compare yourself to that person in 10 years, but also still have some like curiosity.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You
hopefully
never
it's
know.
fun.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun.
Oh, good. Well, I'm excited for you. Look, thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
show. I really
you.
enjoyed this. I appreciate you.
Likewise.
I appreciate the conversation. Where can people go to learn more about you, find more, connect with you, whatever you want them to do?
So LinkedIn, I do not like social media.
For a super connector, you're not big on social media.
I am not big on TikTok. I'm not big on Instagram. My company is though. So
Nice.
gonna check Zim Connections. Actually just Zim on social media. That's
Nice.
fine. Myself, LinkedIn.
Nice.
I love
Amazing.
LinkedIn.
Good. I don't, but anyway, it's becoming like Facebook. It's so
It
like-
is.
Anyway, all those links will be down below. Look, Irina, I appreciate you.
Thank you
you
so
much.
much.
It's been great to chat.
Likewise. Thank you.
Alrighty, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. I hope you found it valuable. We've reached a number of really important milestones on this show already. It's only been a couple of months, but I'm so grateful to those of you who not only subscribe, but also who listen this far along, who leave the comments on posts, or who give me really powerful, beautiful messages in response. It's been a humbling journey, and there is so much more to come. If there's something about this episode and the question that we answered, or any of the learnings that you took away that you want to make sure someone else you know understands themselves, then please do share this episode with them, along with your reflections, teaching other people something that you learned, passing the information on, or even just writing it down for yourself. All help you retain the answers to this, and any inspiration it gave you even more. That's the purpose of all this, is to give you as much positive, powerful, impactful results as possible on your journey to developing your own inner leader from so many different dimensions, not just the one we've talked about today. So thank you so much for being here, sending lots of love, and here's to your success.